Hi everyone, welcome back to Feeding Ravendoodles, a pet parent's guide to nutrition. Today we're going to be talking all about kibble. There's a lot of questions and myths surrounding kibble manufacturing, and a lot of people nowadays believe that processed food is bad. So it's really important for pet parents to understand what goes into kibble manufacturing and why certain processes are used in the pet food industry. And of course, what safety measures and what regulatory measures are in place to ensure that kibble is safe for our pets. First, all of the raw ingredients are going to arrive at the facility, and usually they arrive by train or truck. Bulk dry ingredients like grains are stored in silos, whereas ingredients that need to be frozen or refrigerated will be stored in commercial freezers or refrigerators. On arrival, some pet food companies will inspect or test the raw ingredients to ensure their quality and safety. When the ingredients are ready to be used, they're going to be ground down, and typically this is our dry ingredients like grains. So they're going to be ground in a device like this one. This is a schematic of a hammer mill, and essentially what a hammer mill does is it beats the dry ingredients from a large particle size into a small particle size. And so that small particle size is going to ensure best water absorption, ingredient incorporation, cooking, and the ability to be mixed and fit into the extruder, which is a couple of steps ahead. Then once the ingredients are ground down, they're going to be stored in bins until they're ready to be mixed and extruded. Mixing takes place in what's called a hopper, and it's usually connected to the extruder. So basically all of the dry ingredients are mixed based on a formulation and based on specific weights to make sure that the end product is going to be complete and balanced. After the hopper, it's going to go through a series of tunnels into the extruder. And so the extruder is a machine that mixes and cooks both the wet and dry ingredients. So they're all combined in the extruder, and they're cooked to between 100 and 200 degrees Celsius, which is between 210 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit. During the final stage of extrusion is when a dough-like mixture is forced out of tiny holes at the end called a die, and then they're cut with a rotating knife. Once the kibble leaves the extruder, it actually expands and cools and therefore loses some of its moisture. And so it's spongy, soft, and moist at this point. And then it undergoes drying and cooling, where they're transferred to a dryer and 10 to 15% more moisture is going to be dried out. The kibbles are going to be warmed to around 120 to 150 degrees Celsius, so this is between about 250 and 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is for about 15 minutes, and then they're cooled for about 10 minutes. The last step to kibble manufacturing is coating of the kibble. So coatings can be either wet or dry, and typically they're fats and or flavor enhancers. And so fats are going to prevent the kibble from expanding, and then both fat and flavor enhancers increase palatability, increase how the kibble tastes to the pet. Not drawn on this schematic is packaging. So there's filling machines that are set to deliver a specific weight of the product into each bag, and the bag is going to protect the kibble, prevent the fat from leaching out of the food, ensure the product safety and integrity, and overall allow the kibble to be stored under different conditions. Many manufacturers also inject nitrogen gas into the bags before sealing to force oxygen out and prevent oxidation of fats, and therefore increase shelf life. Most extruders cook at what is called high temperature slow residence time, or HTST. And this means that the kibbles are cooked at a high temperature for a short period of time. So like I mentioned previously, kibbles are cooked to between 100 and 200 degrees Celsius. And cooking really ensures that microbes like pathogenic bacteria and other microorganisms are destroyed. That is the main reason that we cook food, right? Another thing that cooking does is it denatures anti-nutritional factors, which we'll get into a little bit later. And so a lot of people are also concerned that with cooking comes burning, and I've heard multiple times people say that kibble is just burnt brown balls, right? Well, a good pet food manufacturer will ensure that all of their machines are set to the proper temperatures and times and speeds so that the kibble does not become burnt. Overcooking may happen with decreased quality control, and it will affect the look, taste, and nutrition of the end product. But like I said, ensuring that the product is cooked at the right temperature and for the right amount of time will ensure it doesn't burn. Another question many pet owners have is whether cooking destroys nutrients. So yes, cooking can weaken or partially destroy certain vitamins, but typically this is limited to the vitamins because they are the most unstable of the nutrients that are found in pet foods. And so how we combat this basically is by adding vitamins in after cooking, and then that will ensure that the final product is complete and balanced. It is well documented in the scientific literature how certain nutrients are affected by cooking. And so companies should employ a qualified formulator, like a board-certified veterinary nutritionist or a PhD animal nutritionist, who understands how these nutrients change during processing, so they can change the original formula to reflect all of these changes and ensure that the final product is complete and balanced. So while some nutrients may be weakened or destroyed during cooking, this shouldn't affect the end product if the company employs a qualified formulator. Another concern many people have is whether cooking decreases digestibility. Now, while it is true that cooking slightly decreases protein digestibility, cooking actually significantly increases carbohydrate digestibility. Total digestibility may be lower in kibble than in fresh or lightly cooked diets, but this can be due to a number of factors, including the ingredients used, their nutrient profile, and other processing methods. In reality, there have been very, very few studies done that suggest that the digestibility of kibble is different than that of fresh and raw diets. So the difference may be there, but it is probably not that significant in terms of total digestibility. The main reason that kibble goes through a drying process is to decrease the moisture and therefore improve shelf life. So decreasing the moisture is going to decrease the likelihood that you're going to get mold and microbial growth in that finished product. And this is also going to improve kibble's ability to be packaged. So the way that we store kibble, the way that we package kibble in large volumes in plastic bags is very good for its life, and it increases the amount that pet owners can buy at one time for a decreased price, and it also improves how we can store it and ship it and sell it. A lot of pet parents get concerned that they see salt on the ingredient deck of kibble. The reason that salt is in pet foods, and yes, it is in all pet foods, not just kibbles, is because salt provides nutrients, sodium and chloride, which are two minerals that are needed in the body for water balance, blood pressure, waste excretion, heart, kidney function, everything like that. So sodium and chloride are extremely, extremely important for our pets. Salt is also going to increase palatability. And in therapeutic urinary diets, it even encourages water intake in our pets that might not drink enough water. Like I said, salt is present in all pet foods, even if it's not listed on the ingredient deck. It might inherently be part of another ingredient. So when you see salt on the pet food label, don't worry. Another one I hear a lot is kibble is full of chemicals. Well, yes, but so is everything. Everything that we eat, everything that our pets eat, it's all made up of chemicals. So when you look at the ingredient deck on Kibble or any other type of pet food, you might see some chemical sounding names. And typically, those are your vitamins. But they might also be some synthetic additives, preservatives, things like that. But those are nothing to be afraid of either. All additives, including synthetic additives, are approved by the FDA. So you definitely don't have to worry about these things in your pet's food. Maillard reaction products are also known as non-enzymatic browning reactions. These reactions happen during cooking, processing, and storage, and the reactions are accelerated by heating. And it's important to keep in mind that Maillard reactions don't just happen to kibble, they happen to all types of food. So what a Maillard reaction is when protein or amino acids and sugars combine to form compounds that the animal can't use. So the animal can't use the protein part, the animal can't use the sugar part of that compound, so it kind of just gets wasted. So this isn't really usually a problem unless the amino acid is limiting. So unless that amino acid is in a very low amount in the diet, that we would be concerned. Typically, pet foods contain a lot more protein and amino acids than are required, so we can afford to lose some of that protein to Maillard reactions. And once again, this is why it's important for pet food companies to work with a qualified formulator who understands how Maillard reactions happen, what amino acids are being affected, and then how they can tweak that formula and how they can tweak the processing to ensure that this does not affect the end product. Anti-nutritional factors are substances that are going to impact the nutrition of the product. So they're going to impact certain nutrients in their availability or their metabolism. This is going to include things like trypsin inhibitor or enzymes that cause rancidity in that final product. Anti-nutritional factors are found in ingredients, and they're not inherently toxic, but they do affect the quality of the food. But anti-nutritional factors are actually denatured during HTST cooking, which is the typical form of extrusion that we use for kibble. So anti-nutritional factors are something to be concerned about, but this is another reason that qualified animal nutritionists should be involved in the formulation of pet foods, because they're able to address the anti-nutritional factors so they don't become a problem in that end product. I hear this one a lot. Processed pet food is bad. Now, this stigma really comes from the assumptions that processed people foods like candy and donuts are bad for us. And yeah, they're bad for us, but in reality, they're not bad for us because they're processed. They're bad because they're non-nutritious, high calorie, full of simple sugars and fats, and people don't control or limit their intake of these foods. Now, pet foods are processed, but they're also formulated to be complete and balanced, unlike candy and donuts for us humans. Now let's take it back a step and define processing. Well, processing is any action that alters an ingredient from its original form. So skinning and deboning a chicken is a form of processing. Grinding wheat into small particles is a form of processing. Cooking all your ingredients and mixing them all together, that's processing too. The term processing has a negative connotation, but all food is processed unless it's eaten in its 100% raw and unchanged state. So the stigma around processed pet food is really just based on people's fears and based on people's assumptions that pet foods are bad, like candy and donuts. But they're really not. There are so many safety measures in place when it comes to good kibble manufacturing. Good pet food companies have several safety measures and quality control checkpoints at each stage of the kibble making process. So they're going to do background checks and they're going to vet their ingredient suppliers. They're going to test ingredients on arrival and check for proper storage, temperature, any obvious rancidity, things like that. Good pet food manufacturers are going to work with a knowledgeable formulator, like a qualified animal nutrition expert, a board-certified veterinary nutritionist, or a PhD in animal nutrition, so that the formula is correct and results in a complete and balanced end product. Good pet food companies are going to ensure that the machines that they use are safe and operational, they're functioning at the right temperature, speed, everything like that, and they're going to do multiple daily checks on those. They're also going to sanitize all of their equipment, lines, and everything before and after use. They're going to have continuous monitoring during manufacturing, so someone is always watching while the product is being processed. Good pet food companies are going to test their end products to make sure that they're complete and balanced. Good pet food companies are going to ensure that the facility is secure and only certain personnel are allowed inside, and that those personnel, those employees, are going to wear PPE and practice good personal hygiene. So they're going to wear gloves, boots, coveralls, goggles, masks, hairnets, and they're going to wash their hands. They're going to go through foot baths when they enter certain parts of the facility to ensure that there is no contamination, no outside contamination, and no cross-contamination between products. Good pet food companies will also have airflow, so directional airflow, where they're going to be ensuring that no bad air is being pulled into the facility, so they'll have air filters and things like that, and all the air is going to flow in one direction to make sure that there's no contamination between products. So their raw ingredient air is not going to hit their final ingredient air, and they won't be pulling microbes from those raw ingredients to the final ingredients, if that makes sense. So there are several safety measures in place with kibble manufacturing, just like with all food manufacturing, all pet food manufacturing. But good pet food companies are going to have very strict safety measures and very stringent quality control checkpoints at each of these places. There are also very, very many regulatory measures in place for pet food manufacturing, not just kibble manufacturing. So the Association of American Feed Control Officials, or AAFCO, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Center for Veterinary Medicine, and your state government all work together to regulate pet food. AAFCO is going to set the guidelines and standards for labeling, definitions of ingredients, and facilitates the cooperation between pet food manufacturers and regulatory bodies. The FDA regulates pet food on a national level, enforces those guidelines set by AAFCO, ensures compliance by pet food companies, and has the authority to fine manufacturers and recall diets if they're substandard. Your state and local governments help the FDA with pet food regulation, and they may pass other laws in addition to those set by the FDA. Thank you so much for watching this Popular Topics video on kibble. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends if you enjoyed it. Also, leave comments down below if there were any questions that you had about kibble that I didn't answer in this video, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Also, check out that video's description where I give you links to all the resources that I used to create this video. Don't forget to visit feedingravendoodles.com, where I give you access to all my articles, videos, and resources in one place for you. Next time, we're going to be talking about rabbit nutrition. Say bye!